Andy Reid scoffed about the potential below-zero temperatures for Saturday night's playoff game against Miami at Arrowhead. Reid saying, "We're not having a snowball fight." Well, the battered Dolphins are obviously a warm weather-based team with a quarterback from Hawaii. But to Reid's point, the odds makers open the Chiefs as only a 3.5-point favorite, which now has been bet up to Kansas City by 4. So, Michael Irvin, you being from Fort Lauderdale, does this point spread seem about right to you?
Well, let me see. When I looked at last game, of course, that Week 9 game, it was 21-14, the final score. And in that game, I saw Tyreek Hill let a ball go that I thought could have been a touchdown. So I thought Miami could have won that game, even though that was across the way when they played the Chiefs here. Now, I see this game as about even, and you go 3.5. We give 3 points to the home team.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what's interesting about this game. When you start talking about the weather that this is going to have and the effect that the weather's going to have on this game, that ball gets heavy in cold weather like that. You have to focus more on the ball, and ironically, that helps more than hurts the Chiefs, because the Chiefs, they've had so many drops, and drops comes from a lack of focus.
Yep.
A lack of focus on catching the pass. Now you get in this kind of weather, that's all you do is focus on catching the pass. There is no, I'm going to run early now, because we know, man, this ball is heavy. My hands feel like they got little knives, little needles in each one of them. So I'm trying to make sure I can put my hand in the right position to catch that football. This really may help them in focusing on making those plays. It comes down to, I believe, though, who can run this football better. And I do believe Miami, with the speed they have, they can, I know they didn't do a great job last time. I believe, though, in Kansas City, this will be different. If the weather wasn't so bad, I would take Miami in this. I would take Miami in this game, but with the weather being where it is and the Chiefs knowing how to play in that weather, and Miami doesn't want any part of it, I'll end up taking the Chiefs. So I have to say, yeah, it's about where it should be, which is they have home field advantage. That's what they're saying. It's a pretty close game, though.
You agree, Rich?
Yeah, the weather's definitely helping the Chiefs. I think that's
right.
That's going to be a huge advantage. I think they should have ran the ball. The Miami Dolphins should have ran the ball and kept running the ball last game.
Right.
Raheem Mostert had 12 carries for 85 yards. He was averaging 7 a carry, and I think if they would have continued on that path, they may have won that game. They did do a great job on Tyreek Hill. Irv brought up the play that could have potentially been a touchdown, but outside of that, they held him pretty much in check. They held Jalen Waddle in check. They held Tua Tagovailoa in check. And Spags has consistently done a great job this season against Tua Tagovailoa and against quarterbacks with explosive offenses. So I think it's very hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead in the playoffs, where he's 10-2, and the only 2 losses have come to Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. It's hard for me to think Tua Tagovailoa is going to walk into Arrowhead and walk away with the victory, despite everything that the Kansas City Chiefs have gone through, all the offensive inefficiency, the drops, the kind of head-scratching decisions at times. I still think in the playoffs, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are a tough out.
Yeah, you mean he's lost.
Let me say this, but what I thought in that last game, because I interviewed Tyreek Hill right before that game, remember? And Tyreek Hill, he said he dreams about this. He thinks about it. He wanted to score so badly against his former team, remember? So Coach McDaniel went in that game trying to satisfy his superstar and understand it, because I'm saying the exact same thing you're saying, Richard. They should have continued to run the ball, but they wanted to get the ball in the hands of Tyreek Hill. And remember, Kansas City had Snead following him all over and banging him up at the line of scrimmage. I'm saying you've shown that. Now, Mike McDaniel has to come up with something better to work around that, and that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. This bad weather should play into Miami's hand also, which makes them force them to go to H-hand if Mostert's back healthy, but go use H-hand in that running game more.
Michael, if I didn't know better, I think you have a South Florida bias here operating, because I'm not seeing what you see. I see the Dolphins in maybe -5 below, 5 below zero temperatures. I see that as a recipe for disaster, a nighttime disaster, because every time they've gone on the road against a good team, they get exposed. And Jalen Waddle was he was a limited participant in practice yesterday, but it sounds like game time decision sounds iffy. Mostert could be iffy. He practiced limited yesterday. So they're a beat-up, battered, you could go all the way to decimated football team. And if it's only Tyreek, as Richard says, with Spags, just if it's Tyreek alone, even going back to his old stomping grounds in Kansas City, I just don't know how much damage Spags will let just him do to that secondary.
Right. And, okay, and let me tell you. Let me tell you what I mean by this. Let me tell you what I mean there. Okay, because the weather is so badly now, what happens? Yeah, Miami has to come out of their primary game plan, which is quick game to Tyreek. Quick game to Tyreek. Well, Snead knows this. They're going to press Tyreek now. So I'm going to use Tyreek more as a decoy. I know you're going to press him and carry a safety over the top. I'm going to move him out, and I'm going to use this run game. So I'm saying the bad weather that helps you, Kansas City, and your receivers focus more, it can help Miami also, because it'll get their focus off always trying to throw the ball and say, let's play the run game more, and let's see what happens here. Not one game has Miami said, my primary is going to be the run game, and I'll build off of it. This game may be the first, and I'm saying they may discover something in understanding, taking that route, and they can take that route. Sherm just told you they were getting 6 or 7 yards a pop. 6 or 7 yards a pop. With that kind of speed, 1 or 2 times in the cold weather, you miss him, he's gone. Reaching those hands out, those fingers are tight, they're cold, they're frozen. Those tackles, finger tackles, are a little bit more difficult. That kind of speed, he could be gone. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
And even if Mostert does not play, you still good?
Right. Well, that's what I said. Even if Mostert don't play, he didn't play last week. Achane, he could be gone. It's not like you're going to get the next guy that's slower. The next guy is actually faster. So that's even more dangerous. And, all of these slick blocking schemes, they work better in this cold weather because people are moving a little slower. To attack Miami, you got to shoot those gaps before those blocking schemes hit you. This is going to be more interesting than people think.
Richard. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I think Jeff Wilson, if Raheem doesn't play, Jeff Wilson Jr. is a battering ram, and it may be, it may be more conducive to him having success in this game anyway, a cold conditions game. You talked about people not wanting to tackle. They definitely aren't going to want to tackle him, but on the other side, Pacheco runs the ball very hard.
He runs
consistently.
Hard. He runs
Clyde
hard.
Edwards, Allaire, they got backs to do the same thing. So I think, it could definitely be a short game if that's where it ends up on the ground, but I don't think Andy Reid's going to live on the ground with Patrick Mahomes in any conditions.
I have seen Patrick play in cold weather before, because in that AFC Championship game against Brady, it was very cold that day. I don't know what the wind chill was around 0. And I thought Patrick was great in that game. Brady in overtime was just a little greater because he converted 3 straight 3rd and 10s, which is almost inconceivable, as they marched down for the touchdown. And obviously Patrick didn't get a chance. But the point is, I think Patrick will throw it great in the cold. I think they'll throw it great against Miami's decimated defense. Obviously, there's no Bradley Chubb, Xavier Howard. So, man, Michael, I don't know, 4 points. I know, Michael, you and I have never had a dinner bet. I bet Keyshawn a bunch and Richard some. But would you like to do a dinner bet on this game? If I gave you 4, would you take it for a dinner?
Hey, well, first, I told you I'm taking the Chiefs because of the weather. But I'm telling you how this weather, though, is bad
so
for Miami, can help you. Right, I'm making a case. But I'm taking the Chiefs. Now, I told you this, though, Skip.
Yeah.
If this weather wasn't this, if the weather was better, I would take Miami in that bet.
Okay.
In that bet, if the weather was better, because I figured they know how you're going to play Tyreek Hill now, and I will put it on Mike McDaniel to figure out a way to use that against them, because that's exactly what's going to happen here in this game. But the weather says I can't take that bet.
Okay.
I can't take that.
Okay.
I'm a Florida boy. I know don't bet
understand.
on any Florida boy going into 0-degree weather.
There you
That's
go.
not good.
Okay, so if I were a betting man, I was once upon a time, but I'm not anymore. But if I were, I would jump all over this. I'd be all over Kansas City on this, and I would give the 4 to Miami, because I think Kansas City could win this game by 21. I think it could get out of hand. Just because you got Tua in the cold, and I just think it's recipe for Miami disaster.
Yeah, and they'll try to grab all of the old glory in this game, because remember now, everything ain't coming through Kansas City anymore.
No.
Right. It's not going to be the Arrowhead Invitational this year, as it's been the last 5 years. If they win this game and Buffalo wins, they'll likely have to go to Buffalo. And we can talk about that. We can cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Richard, could you see Kansas City winning this by a lot?
No, I don't think it'll be by a lot. I just can't trust their offense like that, like we have in the past, to say, hey, they're just going to get explosive. I mean, you talk about they'll be able to pass the ball all over the yard, which is true because they have Patrick Mahomes. Will they be able to catch it? That's been the concern this season. Can they catch the football?
Okay.
And will they drop it? And the elements will make it worse. Now, on the other side, we can talk about Tyreek Hill, but he played in Kansas City. So we know he's coming back to the cold, and that's not his natural element. But he did play there for years, so he knows how to dress. He knows which gloves to wear. He knows which socks to wear. He'll know how to deal with these elements, which cleats to wear. This was his home stadium for a number of years, so I don't think the cold will have a huge effect on him because he's been there.
I offer you then, would you like to do a dinner on, I'd give you Miami +4. Would you take that?
I do not got Miami in this game. Skip, I got Kansas City.
There we go. Case closed. Case closed. All right, we got to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers next, because we're hearing Mike Tomlin might take next year off. My point is Buffalo should hope he takes this Sunday off. We'll talk about that.
Y'all see who just called me? Y'all see who just called me? That's Jerry Jones. We're going to talk about all of this after this show. I'm going to go see this dude.
Thank you.
I'm going to talk to him about